Hey all, so War 9 here is a bit of a longer one, and that's in part because I'm taking some fights that, you know, aren't quite as elegant as some of my usual solutions. But Medusa is fun to use, so I'm glad these worked out. Now, first off, we just have Hulkling against Nimrod here. We've discussed the bug with this node before. It means that when I throw my special 3, I'm not going to lose any power. I've made a point of playing several of these without abusing this bug and just using basics after the special 3. I honestly forget if I do that here. But you can see pretty cleanly, or pretty clearly, that we're doing plenty of damage here. I'm making a point here to hit into his block because remember that Pierce also has an armor penetration component to it as well as block penetration. So against somebody like Nimrod where you can't productively armor break them, that extra is extremely helpful. Yeah, so we hit in here, we dodge this. Yeah, no, it looks like I'm not going for the special 3. Because, again, you don't need it. Like, Hulkling will be a very good counter for this, even once this node actually works. Yeah, and there we go. I think I just wanted to finish it being unblockable. Obviously, that previous combo would have done it. All right, moving on, we have the first particularly weird one. It is not a great counter. I've sent other better ones before. I think if I'm remembering correctly, the one that has actually worked best for us has been Null here. Because even though the first debuffs are eaten, he then pretty easily gets permanent ones up after that. He is one of the few sick and tired champions that does not place a bunch of healing debuffs on Surfer, which will do 0 damage and just make him hit harder. um, and yeah, that's basically why he's good for it, because he's also just generally a good champ. We couldn't fit one over here. I do not have a null, and so I instead decided to use Medusa because I figured, okay, if I can get just like any bleeds up, we heal block him. As you can tell, really not having great luck with the bleeds when the armor shattered was up. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, let's try and intentionally throw the special one at a bad time so that the armor breaks work for us. Because that will also work. Waiting out the power lock here. Gonna have to step back into it. There we go. That gets us to 3. Let's see if we can hold this. You can see that the Masochism healing really adds up when you're not heal blocking it. And we are not knocking Surfer down quite enough for that to be its own source of debuffs, because that is one thing that sick and tired champs can do, is just knock down the opponent a ton, put a bunch of those long debuffs on them and power lock them that way, even though they don't do any damage. We are not able to do that. For 2 minutes in, we have made a shockingly small amount of progress. I'm definitely getting a bit worried here. And honestly, I forget exactly how I make my way out of this. I think I resolve to try and just knock him down more and go that way. Keeping his armor off and therefore keeping the special lock off of us is helping for the most part, but there he gets it up again. We are keeping the heal block up just with armor breaks and the knockdown debuffs some, but it is clearly not a perfect counter. Like I said at the very beginning, if I could have sent a null here, I would have. We've now let him stack some Furies because I did an extra medium during that last one. If I had gotten hit while he was unblockable with that special 2, this fight would have been over extremely quickly. But the good news is that we are making progress. It has been just over a minute since he was over 90% health. Love that landed. Don't remember exactly what happened there, but it certainly looked like a misparry to me just watching it back. Either way, finally making progress. I think at this point I'm feeling more resolved than hopeless. I'm like, okay, just keep chipping him down. Let's knock him down again. Make sure we don't neglect our heavies in the rotation because they're not really doing any damage for us. But like I said, they're a source of debuffs or at least a source of putting Masochism on cooldown, and that is what we need here. And there we go. We do have 90 seconds left on the clock. Definitely going to try a little bit harder to get null there next time. But let's talk about this one, because I made a mistake. I was exhausted when I was planning this war after a long week, and after a weekend of travel and everything, and I assigned Reed to Doom, which is a great counter under most circumstances, but an absolutely lousy one in Conduit. Because you can't knock him down, you can't heal, you can't control his healing with Petrify, and you can't keep your debuffs up without knocking him down. Because there's no way you're going to chain special 3s fast enough to keep him up. So this is definitely not awesome here. But I did not realize my mistake until I had put the debuffs on him, and I was then at 0 charges. I'm taking another fight later that we didn't really have a good alternative to in their field, and so I kind of had to try and make this work. As awful as it is, the goal here is to just try and ramp our Careful Study passive. Get him to lock that in. See, there we go. And now that is going to be a source of extra combat power rate for us, since my Reed is max sig. It is also going to give us 3 debuffs for our Fury off of this special 3. And I power backed and I power started, and the plan here is basically just to stay alive and kill Doom with special 3s. Now, that's going to go better than it looks like it will right now, because right now we still have those 3 debuffs on him that are giving him a ton of willpower. Notice that things speed up significantly more after that. We're going to get the Fury again here. The shock does hurt. I'm used to the shock not really being a problem in this matchup because we have debuff Siphoner and we don't this time. But we are making progress. This basically is just going to be a matter of dodging a whole bunch of special 2s. And unfortunately, I just don't there. Now, I should have tested that more. I definitely should have. I do think I strongly remember that one feeling like I didn't even have a chance to dex it. Like I was starting to move and it was already hitting me, and I don't think my timing was off. It happens. Unfortunately, now if I even get nullified or I so much as block, I'm done here. So yeah. Like I said, this was an atrocious assignment. I'm only taking it because I need to get a charge back to make sure I don't die later. And thankfully, the passive counts as a charge, or as a debuff for the purposes of getting charges. So the fact that we baited 3 special ones in a row means that we get our 1 charge. I've averted disaster on the later fight now, but at the cost of disaster here. I spent a long time thinking about, what I should do, what other options we had. We did have a couple in the field, but we finally came down to, you know what, I practiced it a bunch, I was feeling really confident. At the end of the day, it's just, I was making enough progress that as long as I don't mess up, we'll be okay. Go ahead and dex this one. I'm also going to make sure that I dex on the early side, because what killed us last time was eating literally all 3 beams and all 3 incinerates. If I evade early and get hit by the last hit of this, then that's actually going to build 2 Careful Study passives on, or Careful Study debuffs on Doom, And that's not necessarily going to be a problem. It's going to make this much... it's not going to necessarily make it faster. Like, ramping the passive on Doom is good, as you can see here. But just getting hit by the last Incinerate while his special is doing significantly less damage because of the Careful Study passive, all of that, I'm fine with. And I figured that was basically how this was going to go. I had the one passive, I would quickly build the other. I knew that I could survive a special 2 as long as I was only baiting special 2s and therefore was reducing their damage. And ending this fight with both passives on him is going to give me 2 more charges and make things easier later. So that's fine. So see, there we actually eat 2 of the beams. Not awesome. But they don't do nearly as much damage thanks to having the passive up. I can live with that. And then we know, based on the others, this is going to finish. Yeah, I really can't defend this one. I should have caught it. Ideally, somebody looking over the plan also would have caught it, but it was my call in the first place. I didn't catch it in my once-overs. I didn't catch it until I had placed all 3 pre-fights, and so I was kind of locked into the mistake. And I didn't dex the special 2 properly, so that one's on me. Serious bummer there, but moving right along. Now we have this Mr. Sinister, and this is going to be somewhat similar to the Surfer fight, but it should be significantly better just because he doesn't have Masochism healing. And so we can land this, and we're doing fine. Additionally, something that I was not 100% sure of, when he reflects these debuffs from knocking him down, notice that they are doing 0 damage. So we actually have a source of healing here, and our armor break should keep him under control enough that this fight, while not super quick and not ideal, will be much faster and therefore much safer than the Surfer one, which was a legitimate timeout risk if we did not play perfect. Now, of course, eating the special 2 is not awesome, but that's apparently a bit of a theme for today, so I'm just going to let that be. Additionally, notice that I was hoping not to armor shatter him. I got to 5 and didn't quite clock the fact that meant my next medium would armor shatter him because it hadn't been long enough. Thankfully, he reflects the bleeds at low enough potency that it's not causing problems, but that is also why I pushed him to the special 2 there. We took some block damage, but made sure to dex this one a little bit more carefully, and that's why we didn't get the bleed reflected there. Although, I don't know, maybe we would have gotten willpower healing from that as well, and I didn't need to push to the special 2. It's fine. Medusa is handling this. I believe this is our last fight with her, so we don't really need to worry again. And there we go. I really do enjoy using Medusa. I'm kind of sad she didn't line up for more fights for me this season, but glad I got at least one outing, and that those did not cause the problems. Taking a look at Hitmonkey here, this is the easier of these 2 nodes, always, because if you dash back, you're getting willpower healing as opposed to the first one, and it's only if you dash back that things actually become a problem. You can parry safely as long as, the opponent's kit is letting you. So we just have to be very careful to not get hit by Crit Monkey because he's evil. But we are going to be able to build power more easily thanks to Hulkling's kit. Unfortunately, we took a lot of damage there onto our Disorient because, I don't know, my reparries just were not working. I wasn't able to dex out. It is what it is. This is where the willpower from the active Disorient is also helping us. I didn't punish there because I wanted to hit into his block, go unblockable, and finish the fight like this. Pretty happy with how that turned out. And then we have the fight that I needed to my pre-fights for. We didn't really have another option for this Wong. So I'll take the Doom Death as a trade, because Reed is going to make this much, much easier. Basically, the way that this fight gets out of control is you miss a parry against Wong, and he charges heavy for a long time with a bunch of mystical energy, builds a bunch of power that gets boosted by the node, and then he throws a special 3 that Aspect of Evolution has supercharged him on, and then you die. I don't really worry about anything else. The special 2, yeah, it can hit hard. The node makes it a little bit more dangerous. Not really concerned about that. The special 1 is a complete joke. There's nothing stopping us from parrying here, so Wong's mystical energy shouldn't be a problem. Or sorry, Eldritch energy shouldn't be a problem. And we're just controlling the combat power so efficiently that, as I've said before, Wong being somebody without ability power gain on this node, or at least not unavoidable ability power gain, just makes him not really a threat for Reed. Because Reed's suppressions are completely controlling the other side of things. He's only gained, what, 2 bars of power this whole fight? We've only had to worry about Eldritch Energy once. We haven't, I don't think, gained any buffs, so we haven't had to worry about his unstoppable there. I spoke too soon. We gained 1 buff there at the end. But yeah, just a really, really hard counter. And I think worth going back in for and getting the charges from, unfortunately. So there goes my perfect season, but we did lose this war. I wasn't the only one who had a bad day, but thankfully we lost it by more than 1. Alright, on to the next. We are still in this. And until then, thanks so much for watching, and take care.